see. There it is. I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Jewel Saints, joined by the author of To Benight and Beguile, the blog, John Phillip Bettencourt. How the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing okay. But so we're here to talk about this. So here's Evie. For those who don't know or remember what happened last time, Evie and Christian had sex. They had an affair, even though Sebastian was shot and killed. And she gets hauled off to Wyncliffe, but we also find out that Sebastian gets turned into a vampire by Mary's mother. And so when she goes to Wyncliffe and meets Dr. Kim, he seems very strange. So here's my question to you, because this sort of gets into Christian too. How long has Kim been searching for the right patient?
That's a really good question, and I'll be honest with you. I don't think I had any idea how long. I mean, the idea for patient X sort of came up because Dr. Kim, is really trying to figure out a way out of his predicament with Jacob. So he wants to get released from Jacob's sort of hold, because Jacob is the villain of the whole story, and he's really trying to control everybody with all these different ways. He's controlling Evie by locking her up at Wyncliffe. He's controlling Sebastian by having him murdered. He's controlling all these people, and the way he controls Kim is by holding this secret over Kim, the secret file that he has over him. And now that Evie is now essentially gone from the hospital, she escapes, or not she escapes, but Sebastian comes and kidnaps her, takes her away. He has to figure out a way to get out of his mess with Jacob. And just so happens he has this patient that he used to have that was a cannibal, and he decides to use the DNA or the vials of that patient, and starts to sort of. I wanted to create this kind of like monster that I hadn't really seen in any type of horror show or horror movie, and my idea was something that I had used previously in my Dark Shadow story, which was the DNA of the werewolf. But I didn't want to do a werewolf. I wanted to do something different. So I came up with this, plot to use Christian as a tool to take down Jacob. And that was what Kim wanted. Kim wants Jacob out of the picture so that he's free. Because if we remember, the story takes place in 1911, and Dr. Kim is gay. And he's sort of living this secret with his partner's passed away. But even so, Dr. Kim wants to make sure that he's never exposed as what he really is, because it's quite dangerous in that time.
From reading it, I take away that Kim, because you do a really good job at like having your characters hint certain things, and to me, Kim had hinted that he had been searching for the right patient for a long time.
Okay.
Like in my opinion.
I love it. No, it's great. I mean, if a reader gets something out of it that I hadn't intended, that's even better. That makes me feel like the story is taking on a life of its own outside of my own brain,
No, it definitely is, because that's one thing I found most curious too with him is with Dr. Kim is, man, he knew Evie didn't belong there, like
absolutely,
deep down, but Christian, his ass definitely belonged there.
Well, oh, right. That's right. Because Christian, I totally forgot. Yes, you're right. Christian is losing his mind. So right. Christian is slowly, his whole psyche is depleting and becoming, junk, really. I mean, everything that he's gone through as well throughout the two books, he is slowly losing his mind. So you're right. He does belong there. And Kim sort of sees that as an opportunity. That's totally right.
We've seen, sorry for jumping around a bit, but with Eliza, because her name just popped into my head, Mary's mother, she's a witch. She can perform magic, and we've seen her perform some really, really like intense stuff. And with Christian, she puts him under this spell, to make him forget about seeing Mary, like searching for her on the island of Good Island. Is this just a peek of what's to come with how, like, the side effects of the spells?
So, um, it is a peek to what's to come. Eliza is super reluctant to ever use her powers. She doesn't like to use it because what I wanted to do was something a little different than I've done before with a character of a witch. Usually when we write witches, they're very happy to use their powers. It's something they love. It's something that's a part of them, and nothing really, how do I say this? Nothing comes of the cause and effect doesn't always happen right away with a witch in certain stories. They do all their terrible things and nothing really happens until the sort of climax of the story. But what I wanted to do with Eliza was that she is super reluctant because I wanted, if she uses her magic, something automatically has to happen for her to use it. It's almost like a give and take. We sort of talked about that with book one. She's afraid to use her powers because she knows if she uses it, she has to give in order to use her powers. Something very important to her has to go away. For example, for her to bring her sister Sabrina back as a ghost living inside of Charlotte, that's one of the stories, she has to remain on Good Island. So she gives up her freedom. And so she's trapped on that little island that's hers, basically. And then to bring back her nephew, she has to sort of give something else away. She can't really do anything with her powers unless she chooses to give something away. So she hates using it. She hates using anything remotely magical. It's almost a burden on her instead of something that's given to her as a gift. It's a curse on herself. So she can't really use her powers without really knowing that she has to, and also giving up something that's super important to her. So it's really more problematic for her than it is easy.
Is there something that even Eliza isn't aware of with dealing with the magic that she has?
She's pretty aware of everything that she can do.
Right.
She knows that she can do a lot more things, but again, I mean, with her powers, but again, because of the give and take that is her coven, she can't really do anything without giving up something super important to her. She's given up her freedom, her daughter, really. She's given up a lot of the things that she can't really live without, but she is living without because she had no choice. Those are the things that happen to Eliza, is that she's given no choice and she has to do what's best for her family, even though it really affects her in a negative way. So she's fully aware of what she can and can't do.
How like with Philip Braga, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his last name, but
no, you got it.
Oh, okay, I got it. I'm good. Because I know I mispronounce names. So, but with him, was he like, because for a moment when I was reading, I'm thinking, man, is this guy like? It felt like he had a bunch of live grenades and just juggling them, and one was just gonna go off. How much pressure was that, like, that character just under from book 2 alone?
You're absolutely right. Again, he is juggling a lot, and it's going to get worse for him in book 3 because we really haven't seen him reconnect with Sebastian yet, and they are tied together. Eliza uses Philippe's blood to revive Sebastian, so they're like blood brothers now. They're tied together. However, Sebastian's been going out there putting out fire so that Sebastian isn't really discovered. He knows that he's out there. He knows that he's technically alive. He's back to life, and he doesn't want him discovered because he knows what hell will be unleashed if the whole town or whoever discovers that there's this guy who came back to life. But not only that, there's other things that he has to worry about. What he will find out later on is that his own girlfriend is in trouble. He has to now deal with that situation that's coming up. Not only his personal life, but now his friend is he's going to have to confront his friend eventually. So that'll come up in book 3. Is there's going to be a more connection between Sebastian and Philippe. They'll have to deal with their own connections and their own troubles together.
And to bring up a point about him, he was Philip's page, and that's how he lost his one arm.
He was Jacob's page, yeah. So
Yeah, sorry.
his back. That's okay. He was Jacob's page as a young adult. He's as younger. He was 20s,
Right.
and the backstory is that he was in a car accident. That Jacob has a car, one of the early Model Ts, and he's drunk and drives and has an accident, and he damages his arm. So yeah, he does have a sort of a messed up hand because of Jacob.
So he's got all this stuff to deal with. This, how does he not crack? Because there's a moment. One of my favorite. I have a lot of favorite moments with book 2. One of my favorite moments is when him and Celeste are in their house together, and there's a knock on the door, and he's like, "Don't answer it! Don't answer it! It's nighttime." I was like, "Oh shit."
He's definitely paranoid that Sebastian's out there hunting, and I think Celeste is his sort of his port of call. She calms him, she keeps him sort of grounded, and when there is trouble, when there is shit going down, he sort of reaches for her, and he hopes that she will be there to sort of relax him. I think that's what really connects them. They're sort of, even though Sebastian and Evie are my big love story, I think Celeste and Philippe are just as powerful of a couple. I like writing for both of them, and they're super connected to each other, all four.
With you introduced some new characters, and it's Alice Winterbourne and her brother Matthew, I want to say.
Uh-huh.
With Alice, when her being in Wincliffe, why did I wasn't sure whether Dr. Eric believed in her powers or not. So did he or didn't he?
He does not. So
Okay.
Kim is definitely for sure does not believe that she has anything, remotely supernatural within her. He thinks she's just as crazy as everybody else. There's the rumor that she drowned her friend. The nurse tells Evie, "Oh, stay away from that one. She's kind of crazy." And she asks her, "Well, what brings her here? Like, what is it that she, what makes you say that?" And she said that she drowns her friend, and that was the first hint of Alice's connection to the ocean, to the sea. I wanted to bring up when I was writing it. And so yeah, they just think she's just this crazy person that drowned her friend, but in fact she's not. She's not a crazy person. She does have powers, and in book 3 there'll be more about the friend in book 3.
She says something really interesting to her brother. She says about how it's just them that are left of their people, of their race, if you will, of their life. Is she correct, or is that just something she honestly believes and isn't sure of?
I haven't really decided. As of right
Okay.
now, they are the only two. I wanted them to be the two the two actors that I use as the images for Alice and Matthew. They're actual actors. They are both Native American, and I wanted to bring a Native American character to the book because of where the story is. It's up in Maine, and I wanted to use like a diverse kind of character scale. And she was the first one I chose, and then I thought, well, I didn't want her just to be this one person. I wanted her to have a connection to somebody outside of the core story characters, and so I gave her a brother. And so together, they're so far the last of their tribe or their people.
Wow, it's really interesting how she was able to turn into a fish, sort of under the water.
Yeah, she's super connected to nature. Nature is she also brought flowers to life in Evie's hand. She has these really magical connections to most nature, but yeah, water. As soon as she touches water, her body turns into a type of fish.
With Rebecca, she starts suspecting when they're burying Gaspar under, not even under really a grave, just they're building a patio and placing him under it. I love that, man. And she's like, I like how she's looking at Jacob, is suspected he did it. Was that sort of a way to for her to cast doubt at him? Because it seemed like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead, you say it.
Well, to me, she was sort of casting some doubt with him in book 1, but with book 2, like she was casting a little more doubt with the death of, and for her, it more started with the death of Gaspar.
100%. She does not trust him at all. She never really has. She has this very, for one thing, Rebecca is extremely suspicious of everybody. She doesn't trust anybody. She's very supernaturally like, um, she's connected to all of the things that she hates in life, which is like the supernatural. And what I mean by that is that she thinks everybody's out to get her. She thinks that the ghosts of her past are going to come up and give her all these answers. And she uses tarot cards and all this stuff. And Jacob is clearly a horrible person. And she's not dumb. She definitely knows he's done some crazy shit. But she, in book one, doesn't really want to believe any of it. So she kind of puts her blinders on. And in book two, things start to really unravel and she can't really deny them anymore. So it starts with the gazebo and Gaspar's body. And it starts with, people keep saying certain things and she sees more and more of his diabolical side. And as book two progresses, she can't deny it anymore. Especially with what he does to his daughter, she just can't deny how horrible he is.
Is with Gaspar dying, I know Jacob sort of moves on from it like really quickly, but for him, like, is he like happy that he's gone? Like, was he shocked?
I think he was initially shocked at how he was killed. I mean, they find him and he's like gutted. Sebastian's a new vampire and doesn't really know how to make a clean bite at the time, so he just ravages the body. So it's terrifying for all of them to see Gaspar in that sense, totally ripped at the throat and everything. It's really violent. But in a way, you're right. He is extremely happy that he's gone because literally Jacob and Gaspar were the two conspirators in book one, and now he's all by himself. He doesn't have to worry about someone squealing on him. So he's very happy. He can do everything he wants without having that liability.
Is Rebecca going to, because you've talked about this too, that she the tarot cards, and when I read the story, like, she's really into the supernatural, but she's also got a religious side to her. Does she really seems to balance it really well.
I think, well, I grew up Catholic, so we have this. I want to say that for my experience as being a Catholic, they go both hand in hand. Like the supernatural and the religious sort of connect because if you think about it, I don't know if you have a religion or if you practice anything, but you're basically praying to ghosts in a way, right? You're praying to people who have passed or to saints who are, if you believe as Catholics do, those people were once alive and they died and they're ghosts. So I kind of thought about that and I thought about, well, it's similar. I mean, you can't, and I came from a very superstitious family. Like we have all these weird, funny superstitions and stuff. Not scary, but they're silly. And I wanted to sort of incorporate that. And there are parts in the story where, if Rebecca's feeling anxious, she always reaches for her rosary in her pocket and she kind of rolls the rosary beads in her hand. And that kind of is what I wanted to convey to her religion. She's not super like dogmatic. Like she doesn't push her religion on anybody. Like my family didn't push religion on anybody. Like, we were just who we were. So that's what Rebecca does. It's all about really, it's a personal thing to her. She's religious and she's superstitious and for her, they sort of are very connected to, the undead type of thing.
Well, with me, when I was growing up, like my mom was Catholic, my dad was Christian, so
you get it.
Right, I got both sides of the coin, and it was insane. But I think too, the thing, like with most people, I think they just like everyone finds their own religion. Honestly, I think like
or not. Some people don't.
Right.
That's great too. But it's all about. For me, it's always been a very personal thing. Like I don't want to like push religion on anybody, or
Right.
And my parents were the same way. So I kind of wanted to use the way my family was as Rebecca. Rebecca is very religious. She's very concerned with all that kind of stuff, but she doesn't make anyone feel as if they're less than if they don't believe in the same things. Because during book one, she was I think she was more into the supernatural in book one. And she never made anybody sit. Oh, wait, she did. She did make Mary sit with her, or not Mary, Georgina. She did force Georgina into a seance. But other than Georgina, she didn't really force anyone into seances or any of that kind of stuff.
Speaking of Georgina, how lucky can one woman be? I mean, she gets put. I like how she gets put into the seance, but I like how Sebastian's calling the dog BB out. The dog's just like,
poor
I'm like,
BB.
yeah, right. I'm like, that dog was probably thinking, well, at least I'm not her. At least I didn't get bit.
Georgina is very unlucky. I mean, she almost got thrown out of a window in book one, being under that trance, and in book two, she gets attacked, and then she gets the body switch. But again, much like Jacob, it's sort of a relief for her. She's sort of trapped in this job that she can't really get out of because she's poor. So she's this personal maid to Rebecca, and Rebecca doesn't necessarily treat her bad, other than the window thing. But she definitely, once she figures out what's really going to happen, and Eliza and Mary convince her, she feels free. She sees freedom on the horizon, and she literally runs away.
When I was reading book one first, I'm thinking Rebecca's gonna send her maid out the damn window. I'm like,
she was ready for it. She just wanted to see if it worked, and it did.
But then she's getting attacked. I'm like, damn, if this girl didn't have bad luck, she'd have no luck at all. She's something. Then she gets her body switched with Mary. I like how she's like taking Mary's body and going out. Are we gonna hear more from Mary / Georgina?
In book three, yes, but it won't be. It's going to be sort of an end to. Well, you'll see. It's going to be short, but yeah, we'll hear about her.
I'm sorry, no spoilers. sorry.
That's okay. Spoilers are good. It gets people excited, I hope.
Right. I gets me excited. I like the story. With Wyncliffe, when in your story, because there is a Wyncliffe in Dark Shadows, is it at all connected to Dark Shadows?
I'll leave that up to the readers. You and I have talked about Dark Shadows for years. I mean, we've been buddies, and we've been reading the same things and going back and forth with our stories and the show. And I wanted, and at its core, Benight and Beguile is very much an homage to Dark Shadows. I mean, it's about this rich family in Maine who have really, really creepy dark secrets, and it's my version of what I would do with a brand new version of Dark Shadows, if that makes sense. So I wanted to I leave little Easter eggs of Dark Shadows all over the place. Like Wyncliffe is a huge one. But this Wyncliffe, I kind of wrote it as though Wyncliffe just opened. So it's brand new. So in 1966 or 67, when the show Dark Shadows premieres, and it's in that show, it's been around for all those years. But I wanted to sort of have the nexus of where Wyncliffe began. It began in 1911, around the time of Benight and Beguile. So that's its origin, is with my story, if that makes sense. And then also, Nurse Hoffman is an homage to Julia Hoffman. She's Dr. Kim's assistant. Alice Winterbourne. So Winterbourne came, this is again me showing some Dark Shadows love. Winterbourne is a little bit of a wink to Victoria Winters.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the baby that Rebecca loses is named Victoria.
Yeah. I like how Rebecca going to the cemetery and confronting the groundskeeper. That was really, really good. And I like how her servants, like, ma'am, they're like trying to stop her from seeing the inside of the coffin.
Yeah, I liked that scene too. When I wrote it and then I read it back, I thought it was pretty good too. I mean, I really wanted it to be really, I wanted it to be kind of tense, and I wanted people to be nervous to see what she would really find. Would she find a dead body, some bones? Would she find it empty? Like, what would really be in there? I mean, Sebastian clearly was roaming around, but you never know. It's a cemetery. It's an old cemetery. and they're kind of freaked out too. They're like, "What the hell? This lady wants to see this gross body that's been in here. Like, turn around." The groundskeeper was like, "You should turn around. You should turn around." And she didn't. She wanted to see.
Rebecca Lord has never dealt with the drunk groundskeeper from Jason Lives. It's sort of like the empty your empty coffin sort of reminds me of when Tommy Jarvis and his friend are going to dig up Jason Voorhees, and the dumbasses ended up bringing them back to life because they put a metal. Well, Tommy puts a rod through him, and lightning hits him and shit.
I just recently saw that. I'd never seen that movie, that particular one, and we just recently saw it about, I want to say last month, and we were watching it, and I didn't know it was a Jason movie, and we were watching, and I'm like, wait a minute, because he's like all gross and he has all these like worms and gross things coming out of his face. And then he sticks the rod in, and I'm like, no, he's not. And then zap, he comes back to life. It was so hilarious, but I loved it.
You want to hear something really cool? Like if you have the DVD or anything, like in the special features or something, they talk about where the original concept wasn't even, they weren't going to bring Jason back to life. It was going to be Jason's dad, Elias Voorhees, who was going to be the killer.
Oh, wow.
Which is really would have been interesting to see, because we have not. I've talked about this with Daniel, that we haven't seen Jason's dad at all in the series. Like,
yeah. It would have been definitely a good branch out.
Right. So it reminded me of just Jason Lives a bit, where you have this like some heavy shit going on in the cemetery, and it's like the groundskeeper knows what's up. I like how in book one the priest is like Kurt, no,
he's like, don't don't go there. He knows. I mean, he knows the family. He knew that if they found out that they fucked up. Oh, can I say that? Sorry, that they messed up.
You can't. There's no here.
Okay, that they messed up and they lost the rich boy's body. He knew shit would go down. So yeah, he was like, don't ever say this. Don't ever open your mouth.
Rebecca basically threatened. Well, not basically. She does threaten the groundskeeper too.
Yeah, she's super forceful. She knows what she wants, and she's definitely for sure that something is. She can't figure it out. Basically, she knows some shit's going down. She just cannot figure it out at that point. And then again, she has that ring, and she just can't figure out how the hell that ring got out of the coffin, and how now his body's gone. So yeah.
At least your dog's safe, Rebecca. Your dog's safe.
I know. I just realized I haven't really mentioned BB in a while. I hope he's okay.
But there's something I picked up too at the cemetery. It seems like I think when I took this away is, I think there's more than one secret laying in that cemetery.
Well, I will say we have not heard of or seen or talked about Albert, her husband. I mean, he made an appearance at the end, but we don't know what's going on with him. And also David, her middle son, Jacob's younger brother, he's been missing. He's ran away. So there's a lot of family tree holes that are going to be plugged up coming up.
I asked you, like, when we did this the first time for the Benight and Beguile, was the island alive? So I guess I'll ask it again. Is the island alive? Is it?
Book 3.
Okay. See what he does?
There will be something revealed about the island in book 3. It's going to be discovered by someone relatively new to the series. You already met this person, but that person will figure something out, and it's going to be it'll start to make sense.
It also, like, the one thing, because in your story, I like how you mentioned Terramore Forest a lot, and it's because they use the trees to build their house, like the Terramore house. So, is there something going on with the trees exactly? Like, is there like some sort of magic within the trees?
Not that I have written, but you never know. I mean, that house is pretty jacked. A lot of crazy shit happens in that that area.
Is there? I'm trying to think with the one question. Is Jacob really dead, or because he got shot twice? We know he got shot by a mysterious figure.
Uh-huh.
So is he really dead?
Book 3.
So we're teasing book 3 for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you there'd be a cliffhanger. There's actually several cliffhangers.
Yeah, I'm taking away Christian's a cliffhanger too. I'm not buying he's dead. Either, by the way. I'm not I've seen a lot of horror movies, John. You know this. I'm not falling for 2 dead bodies, dog. Like I'm like,
Death is too easy, right? Death is too easy.
right? Like, because when you kill, like, when we can just say, "Oh, that person's dead," but that don't mean a goddamn thing.
When you have
Especially,
a witch living down the street, yeah, nothing's forever.
right? Does or sorry, Albert. Yeah, Albert is Eliza seemingly brought Albert back as a ghost. Is he? What is his reason for coming back here, or is?
So Eliza didn't bring Albert back. He sort of appears to Rebecca in her bedroom,
Okay.
but she's begging him for answers. She's so consumed with, basically finding out that her son is a murderer and an attempted murderer, and this creepy guy that is living in her house, and all of the terrible things that she has secretly thought about her own child are now proven to her, and she's like begging her husband for, how we do, like, oh, please give me a sign type of thing. And he appears to her as a ghost, and he's, in a way, at first he's like very, I don't know, she looks at him, he's smiling, he's, it's a good vision, but soon it starts to turn. He's very dark and he's sinister, and the room turns cold. So that is again a sign of something to come. It's a little bit of a foreshadow of the future. So
Yeah.
she doesn't really get a complete answer from him because she's interrupted by one of the maids. But yeah, so Albert, for sure. Okay, well, Albert is dead. He's for sure dead. He's not going to be the mystery guy. But yeah, so he is basically sending her a message that isn't quite clear yet, because that'll be more revealed in book 3.
So the middle child, David, which is Sebastian's dad, I believe,
Yes.
could he be somebody we see in book 3?
He could be. We
Okay.
don't know. You never know.
Who was your favorite character to write in book 2?
Oh man, I don't know why, but I sort of leaned on Celeste this time.
Okay.
Even though Evie is the main character, she's definitely my main character. But I don't know why. I think having her at Wincliffe gave her a little break. She'll definitely come back more in book 3. But Celeste really had a big storyline this year, and it'll be more of that will come up next time. But yeah, I definitely wrote a lot more of her. For some reason, I just kept gravitating towards her.
I actually liked how you introduced Evie's brother, Nicholas.
Yeah,
He was really a good new fresh character, and I like how he lies too. Like, he's not, it's sort of, I know I usually compare people to the Shadow, but again, the Shadow isn't afraid to use evil's tactics against itself. So here's Nicholas, he's using the Lord's tactics of lying against them. Like, he's lying to them, which I found interesting.
And he's very determined. He comes to town really unsure of what's going to happen. He has no idea why his sister's been sort of, radio silent. They haven't heard from her in England since since she left. She hasn't written them. She hasn't, because if you remember, she comes to America. She gets married, and then the tragedy strikes and Sebastian's murdered, and everything just goes to shit. So she hasn't written them in what is over 9, 10, 12 months, a year. So he does come looking for her, and he's very fearless. He comes across the pond from England and wants to find his sister, and just gets involved quickly into a lot of crazy stuff.
I really like I liked Nicholas, but I really liked what you did with Evie with the sanitarium, Wincliffe sanitarium, because she just didn't. It wasn't just her. It was her, Kim, Alice, and even the wards, the guards there. She was interacting with different people, so that was a nice fresh take for that character.
Yeah, I wanted to give Evie some more, something more to do other than just being, terrorized at Terramore.
Right.
So removing her from that environment to a different environment gave her more of a story. And again, it was sort of a cat and mouse type of thing with Sebastian because he really wants to find her. He's in love with her. He is sort of obsessive about her, and that has to do with the fact that he was taken from her so quickly, and he has this kind of like I said, obsessive need to find her, and he'll do anything to get to her. And Evie just wants to survive. She doesn't want any trouble. She's an innocent person in a lot of the things that happen to her. And so
Yeah.
when she's at Wincliffe, that's sort of used against her. She's sort of used as this pawn to keep her away from. Jacob wants her to keep her away from his money. She's basically now the heir to all that money. So if she's away, he can control it all.
Yeah. Is Sebastian? I don't know. Well, fuck it. Is Sebastian psychotic?
He's definitely well, let's say this. He's gonna go through some shit. He's already going through some shit.
Right.
And there it's gonna get harder for him. He's gonna get more and more deeper into his new, how do we say this, his new existence, his new who he really is now. He's gonna have to find a way to make himself happy living the way he lives, and he can't live a full life if he's only living part of it, if that makes sense. He only lives in the dark because he can't be in the light.
Right.
So he's going to see some trouble coming down the way because Evie can live in both worlds. She can live in the daytime, she can live at nighttime, and he can only see her half the time. So there will be some struggling going on with him, and that will not go down well if you know how a vampire works. Jealousy, jealousy, and pressure on himself, and there's gonna be a lot of friction between himself and the world around him.
I smell a lot of bodies coming.
Yeah, well, I already have some people pegged for that, so we'll see what happens.
Like, yes, nice to meet you. Walking corpse. But
Well, remember, Alice is on his tail.
right.
She senses him. She senses how there's some dark shit going down. She can sense his evil. She's done it twice already. She saw him in the cabin, and all the spiders came and attacked her. She knows that there's something very dark about him. So she's kind of on his tail. And she's very friendly with Evie. She likes her. So just I'll leave it that way.
All right. I don't. No, I don't want to ask that question because that could. I know that's something that will get. I don't know if. Well, all right. I'll ask.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Is Alice and Sebastian, are they sort of like a rival of each other, or?
Yeah, I would say so. She is protective of Evie. She's just met her. I mean, let's be honest, she just met her, but she's become very close to her, and she is becoming close to Nick too.
Right.
They're sort of they see each other, and they kind of there's this glowing attraction towards each other. So she's growing closer to Nick and Evie, and yeah, she definitely sees Sebastian as a threat to both of them. So we'll see what happens with that.
Cool. Is I take it we have not heard the last of Dr. Kim with.
No, Kim. So what I've already plotted out book 3. Kim is in the beginning and towards the end. So he's
Not,
there, but there's some stuff that he has to deal with. So he does disappear for a little bit.
is it for you like when you're writing, whether you're introducing, because I know like sometimes you've introduced new characters and like I've seen you like turn around and kill them off, and then I'm like shocked as hell. So like I don't know what I'm trying to ask here, but like when you write a new character, do you know who, like, whether you're going to kill them or not, or is it like a debate?
Not right away. I usually have to figure out how I'm going to fit them in for the long run. And
Right.
then if I see that they're just really not there doing anything, then I'll figure out a way to get rid of them And you'd never want to get rid of a character by just having them leave town. Although I did with Mary / Georgina, she did just leave, but she had to leave that way. I didn't want her to die because, like I said, they're tied together. If one dies, they both die. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, so if I do introduce a new character and then they serve no purpose towards their storyline, they eventually meet their maker somehow.
And now people will hopefully understand why I want you to write a Halloween.
I know it's been years, right? You've been asking me to do that for like 5 years.
No, I'm like, when I started reading like The Return of Dark Shadows, and I'm like reading up, this guy needs to write a Halloween. But definitely for sure. I mean, you know what you're doing when it comes to writing, man. You're very, very talented. But
Thank you.
you're
I would be intimidated to write that. I mean, I don't know the character as well as you, so I'd have to do a lot of research.
Just remember stalking, breathing, and murder.
There you go.
That's, I mean, really, because he doesn't talk, you know.
Exactly, yeah. But even in the writing, he doesn't talk.
That's like somebody said, is Michael Myers hard to write for? I'm like, he fucking doesn't talk. No, he just write dialogue for other people, because here's these people living in this town or living wherever you're taking Michael Myers. God help those people. But like, so you're writing dialogue for like a random teenager who you're just meeting, and that's your dialogue for, like, there's different dialogue for different teenagers, and it's like, how many do I want Michael to kill, and who's going? There's been times I've said fuck it and everybody's going, but because hey, he's the most brutal killer ever and he's smart as hell. But you know, that's that. But what is there one character that we haven't, or that might be book 3, we haven't seen yet and we're gonna see in book 3?
Yeah, I have 4 new characters coming in book 3.
Yeah. Nice. Is there a character that, I don't say, you wish you wouldn't have killed off?
I've only killed, who have I killed? Gaspar's dead, and I'm okay with Gaspar. Sebastian, we know Sebastian's not really dead, so I haven't really killed anybody that much. Sebastian did kill an orderly. That was a good kill. Who else has he killed? I really haven't killed that many people. Wow! Right. Oh my gosh! How have I not done? Yeah, I need to kill more people.
2. You got 2. Well, listen, I'll see. That's what I like about you. Like, you're not about the kill count. You're about this. I like your style because you're about the actual storytelling. So, which is good, really good. But who was the toughest character to write in this story so far?
Oh, good one. The toughest character, probably Sebastian.
Okay.
Because Sebastian, I don't want him to be a sort of rip-off of Barnabas, and although Dark Shadows, I don't want it to be I don't want it to be a rip-off, you know? I don't want people to say, oh, that's been done before. So I'm very cautious of making sure that everything that Sebastian's doing hasn't been done by Barnabas, or if it has been done by Barnabas, I sort of reinvent it in a different way. So Barnabas was super sensitive and had this duality to him, and Sebastian is super self-conscious, and he hasn't figured himself out yet. And so I hope that is conveyed, that there is a difference, and that's really hard to write because you want him to seem likable, you want people to really like him. At the same time, you want people to sort of not want him around because he is sort of dark and scary. But you have to have that type of ability to make that character likable. So that's really hard.
I'll tell you, he doesn't, as somebody who watches Dark Shadows too and has seen Barnabas up and down, I don't see Barnabas when I see Sebastian.
Oh, good.
So, like, it's going to be a weird mix because I've seen a bunch of fucking vampires. So I see a bit of Vampire Hunter D here. Not in the way of killing or vampire hunting, but in his D is more somebody who thinks about how his parents were murdered, and how what happened to them, and because he saw it, he saw it as a kid, like he saw that shit. So that's something I've always like been curious with. I know Sebastian's not D, but Sebastian now knows that he found out his mom that Sabrina was killed, his mom was killed by Jacob. He found out the Gaspar was involved with some shit. So he knows that shit's been done.
Yeah.
And it, to me, he seems like he's contemplating that a lot.
Exactly, he is, and he's a little unhinged. You know, he's gone through some traumatic stuff in the grave. You know, he was dead and he came back to life, and I wanted to write him in a way that seems like, you know, he's the same, but he's not the same. And that's sort of gonna. Evie's already noticed it. She's already seen him have these outbursts. You know, when he takes her and they kind of have their moments together in the cabin. They're talking and everything's great, but then he splits and gets kind of dark and very cruel. So she's already seen that there's a little bit of a difference in him than what he was before, and that again is going to start to develop more and more as time progresses, because he's only been a vampire for a very short time. So for me, when I see him as a fresh new vampire, those types of characteristics will start to grow more and more and more as he gets quote unquote older. So he's just beginning to see the effects of the spell.
Cool. Let me see. I'm trying to think if there's any more questions I want to ask you. I don't think so. Is there anything you want to add about your story?
I'm just really happy people are liking it. I think so far, the few people that have responded have been very positive. It's been super fun to write, and I really feel like this is one of my best stories, my favorite, and I hope people keep coming back. It's going to get better and better, I hope. And thank you so much for constantly supporting. I really, really, really appreciate it, all of it.
I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm so glad. It's a hell of a story so far. I mean, that's one thing. It may be a nod to Dark Shadows, but it's not Dark Shadows in a sense. And that's something like, look, you've spent 5 years writing The Return of Dark Shadows. It'd have been easy for a writer to just, I'm just going to do the same thing, but no, you're not. You're doing something different, which is.
I'm glad. I'm glad you see that. Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed right away when I was reading this. I told my wife, I said, "This is not The Return of Dark Shadows," and she's like, "Is that good?" I said, "That's great because it's a different story."
Yeah, but I did want to. I love Dark Shadows, and I wanted to create my own type of it without being copied. So yeah, I'm glad that makes sense. I'm so glad.
By the way, she says hi.
Hi, Julie.
Because listen, I got my life threatened if I didn't tell you hi from her. Yeah, if no one ever hears from me again, you'll know why.
Got it. I will note that down.
Do you know this? But nope, I don't know. I don't know him at all. I could see that now. Everybody be denying my eyes. Like, no, I don't know. I don't know. Where'd you know? I was never on his channel.
Delete.
Yeah, that's what that'll be. Well, you won't have to worry about that. Julie knows my password. She'll probably fucking be deleting it too, so she don't get fucking framed for shit. But yeah,
that's hilarious. It's recorded now, Julie. So watch out.
Right. Well, here's the thing. This is at the 48-minute mark, so.
Oh.
But
I know you told her.
Right. By the time she disposes of the body, this will be down. This will be down. No. Yeah, it really is interesting because I really like how you literally have each character is different and each character has a job to do in your story. So even Christian, like when I see Christian and Jacob later, I'm not buying that they're dead. You know what I mean? Which is really interesting. It's like, holy shit, what's he gonna do with 2 dead bodies now? I'm curious.
And not just that, but who shot him?
Right, who capped their ass?
That's there's the details.
Whoever captain's been learning from Lamont Cranston, they're a crack shot. They've been reading them shadow pulps now. But no, I'll give them that. They're a better shot than Mary is.
Yeah, right. Poor Mary. But it's the same gun. Remember, you'd ask me, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun?" I was like, "Well, you'll see," and that's where it is.
I know. I'm like, I message you. I'm like, "Hey, John, where's whatever happened to Jacob's?" You're like, "You'll see." I'm like,
Yeah.
I read that. I'm like, "Son of a bitch." But yeah, I did see like somebody had it. I'm I'm just gonna. You don't have to answer this because I'm gonna give a guess. I don't buy that it's Eliza.
Okay. Who's your other suspects, if you have any?
I have a couple actually. I want to say Kim because I can't see Kim just leaving things a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But also David. David is my suspect. But I have three. So I have two or three. So
good ones. Those are good guesses.
So Kim, maybe I'm off base here. Kim seems to be like he wouldn't leave something for chance. Just, you know what I mean? I know he injected Christian with that stuff, but still.
I think he's gonna make some big mistakes. There is some stuff that he's gonna put out there that will not go down well with everybody. So once stuff starts to peek out and light of day starts to hit all his secrets, there's gonna be things that he has to really have to he'll have to think about his life coming forward.
Right, for sure. I like how you had different parts of, like, you've always included different parts of Terramore Forest or Terramore Island, whether it be the town or like another cabin that the Lord family own. Is there going to be like an expansion of the island we haven't seen yet?
Probably not. I mean, there'll be more spots. Probably, I also have there's the bar that they go to. There's the cafe. Right. So you'll see little things like that. There won't be. I think that there's a scene in book 3 by the beach. There's a place called oh gosh, I'm forgetting. I think it's called Westwood. No, what is it called? What did they name it? Oh no, I'm forgetting. Westridge. It's called Westridge Shores. We'll see a little bit. That's a little bit hard to say. I might change it, but Westridge Shores. That's hard to say. So we'll see. It's basically the beach. So we'll see a little bit of the beach.
I'll as I'm reading it, I'll do the 5 times challenge. Say it.
Is it Westridge Shores? No, I'm forgetting. I think it's Western Ridge. I don't know. I create so many things I forget.
We all do. What you have is CRS. You know that? We all have CRS.
What's CRS?
Can't remember shit.
There you go. Yes, I'm gonna get that tattooed on me. I have CRS. Or what are those those bracelets that people have that say that they're allergic to the grass or something? I'm gonna get I have CRS bracelet.
But really, really great story, guys. You guys got to go check this out. Link to Benight and Beguile will be in the description box. You can follow him at Benight and Beguile at Pop Rag. Man, really, really great job on book 2. Just amazing.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy book 3.
I definitely will check it out for sure, man. You know that. I mean, I love reading. So
thank you.
It's like my wife's like, you gonna put down that other book you're reading? I'm like, no, I'm almost done with it. Give me a minute. But so that's the thing. Like when I'm reading something, you know this too. A good book, you don't put it down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. If you can get hooked into a good story, that you can get done in a day sometimes.
Unless it's James Patterson's The Shadow. But anyway,
the book that shall not be named.
Somebody asked, I said, dude, I said, you want to do that book a favor, throw it in the trash. But yeah, I don't know what the hell Condé Nast was thinking hiring him, but that's a problem too. Like they just wait for somebody to come along and say, hey, I'm interested.
Right. And they
Like,
give away they can just give away that property that way? I mean, that's
well,
not good.
not necessarily give away, but if like when he approached them and said, "Hey, I'm interested. This is my story," and they said, "Okay, you can do it," and so he did it. He did that reboot, and it's like that's not even the character. It's like
Right.
it was a bit more. I'll say this: it was a bit more aimed towards the radio syndication, but I don't even think that was the okay, hold on. Let me finish recording here, and then we'll talk. But
Okay.
for John Phillip Bettencourt, I'm Joel Sains. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.